Hello, everyone, and welcome to this event of the Sustainable UX Network. As you can hear, I'm still a little bit sick, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird, don't make fun of me home wherever you are. So this is our very first event of this event series, and I will say a few more words about what we are doing and what we will do in the future with these things. But at first, so welcome. Thank you all for joining here today for this event. And maybe Bavo, you can turn on the slides so that our viewers can see them as well. There you are. So I'm Torsten. I'm one of the founders of the Sustainable UX Network. Some of you might know me. With me in the background is Bavo, also one of the founders. He is running all the tech today and making the magic in the background happen. And well, we hope all work well, but everything seems great. And yeah, I will start with a few words about us and the SUX Network, what we do, about some new things we did, some plans we have for the future, and then have some lightning talk thoughts for you about the topic of today, and then we'll jump into the panel discussion. During the panel discussion, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will I think we will have a Q&A session afterwards, so that we will try to tackle as much questions as possible. And that's it. So what's the agenda for today? Quick hello, as I said, a little introduction and lightning talk for the evening, and then the panel discussion about this topic today, which is collaboration and cooperation as key to sustainability. And why did we choose this topic? It's the topic, actually, collaboration and cooperation of this year's World Usability Day. And so this event is also a satellite of the World Usability Day. We had Elizabeth Rosenzweig in our podcast lastly. And so that's why we decided, hey, might be great to do such an event, because we see such a strong relation between collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, and sustainability. And that's what we want to discuss tonight. But let's jump real quick into what we are and what we do. Most of you might know us, so I will go real quick through that. And for the people who might have not heard, so we are the Sustainable UX Network, and we are a nonprofit community initiative. We are no company, rather a initiative or community, I would say. Our main mission actually is to make sustainability default in all product design processes. And the basis for our work, or the foundation, are the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations. And well, Partnership for the Goals is the 17th goal. So there you can see already the relation to collaboration and and cooperation. And so we do our work in various ways. We have a strong global free community where we, with a huge Slack space that we run, we started a podcast last year. We just released our resources publicly. We'll talk about that in a minute. We develop workshop tools that we provide to the community and such things. So we have a strong virtual component and a strong global component, but we also do lots of physical things. Big sorry. We speak at conferences. We do workshops at conferences, at universities, but also sometimes you go to company events. So if that's interesting for you for some reason, just reach out to us. Actually, for this World Usability Day, this is a real premiere, because with this event, actually, we from SUX attended 3 different World Usability Day events. Stine, SUX ambassador from the network, attended the World Usability Day in Copenhagen this Monday and spoke there. I had the honor to speak at the World Usability Day Switzerland on last Thursday. Well, and today we do our own event, which is pretty nice to see that we can reach out on so many levels and spread the word. And so maybe, and that's for all of you, maybe interesting. What are the latest news from the network? What did we lately? What might be interesting to you? Well, I hope most of you have heard about that. We released our resource and event collection. So it's an open Notion page. It's linked on our website meanwhile, so we can just go there and it's directly on the center spot. And you can search for resources around sustainable design and UX. It's sorted by the design phases, so you can say, hey, I look for something and I'm in the discovery phase or I'm in the design phase, and you will find resources. There are also some more technical resources, and we also started an event database where we collect all kinds of events from all over the world. And so yeah, we hope you find something there. And we invite you also to add new resources. If you have something that you do not find there, if you find like that's interesting, there is a link in the database where you can add new resources or new events. Because SUX is, well, it's a community initiative. It's for the community and it's with the community. So we invite you to provide new resources here as well. And well, we have the podcast for quite some time now. Actually, we caught up a little on the frequency in the past weeks. So we released 3 episodes in the past 5 weeks, I think, or 6 weeks. And actually, they have a strong relation to today because, well, Robert Cosma, who is guest today on our panel, has been in our podcast. Akos Cherktan has been guest in our podcast and is guest at our panel today. And our latest guest was Elizabeth Rosenzweig, who is the founder and director of the World Usability Day. So if that sounds interesting, yeah, just give it a try if you haven't. And well, you know that how the podcast game works. Give us a subscription and a rating always helps. And there is another thing we are just working on, and that's the SUX course, Become a Sustainable UX Designer. We are working on that. We just put it on the website. So if that sounds interesting to you, you could sign up the waiting list. About your expectations and needs, so we could adapt this to your needs and expectations. And so the plan is to release that early next year. So that's it. And another thing we are planning for the next year, and this is also something where you could join in if you want. We plan to start with local chapters. So as I said, the SUX Network from the very beginning was a global virtual initiative. And still we see the need of getting together with people in local places. And that's why we want to start local chapters. And if you are interested in supporting a local chapter in your city, or even interested in running a local chapter, please reach out to us. So we are starting to set things up and set a framework. The idea is here not to create another meetup, but rather something that has a much more practical approach where people can try things. So should be a little different than another meetup, but rather to learn something and to discuss things together with the community. So yeah, reach out to us if that sounds interesting. And to all the people who are not part of the network, feel free to join our Slack or follow us on LinkedIn. As I said, it's for free. You do not have to buy anything. You can just join and be there because, well, we believe in the power of the community, right? And we believe in that we together are much stronger than just everyone of us on his or her own. So why do we do these focus events? Actually, a focus event consists of 3 main pillars. The idea is to have a global event where people from the community can just come together and discuss one topic each event. So because we see there are these topics, as we have today, collaboration and cooperation, and there are many more. Well, and we have so many great people in the network and in the community, and it seems to make a lot of sense to bring them together to discuss these topics and to hopefully give you out there some more some new ideas maybe, or ways of thinking, etc. And the idea is to do it every 2 months. So every month would be a little too much maybe, but to do it every 2 months. And I can tell the next event is planned to be in January, and we will talk about AI and sustainability, right? Everybody is talking about AI at the moment. A few people talking about sustainability and AI, but well, maybe not enough. So we should discuss this. And this is to be planned the next event in January. So lots of things. How are we doing all that? As I said, we are a fully nonprofit organization, right? So we are not making anything out of it, but there are a few people who are the core team of these network, and these are these 8 wonderful people. You see Bavo, who is here as well. We have Isabel, who is doing all the wonderful branding and artwork for the network. Stine, as I said, Stine is a SUX ambassador. She ran a SUX talk actually this week on Monday in Copenhagen. Poppy, for example, was doing the newsletter and other things. Ingo and Therese and Chris and me did a bunch of workshops this year together at various conferences. So this is maybe the core team. But if you wanna help, you're invited to join and help as well. I'll come back to that in a minute. But as I said, we are non-profit, so still the things we do cost a lot of time and also a little bit of money. So therefore, for 2024, we look for sponsors. So if you are interested, or if you know somebody, we would be happy to get in touch. Well, for us, it's important that sponsors share and live our vision of making sustainability the default in UX and design, right? And there are different levels possible. A sponsor of the SUX Network, or a sponsor of the next Focus event, for example, or a supporter for the podcast. So as I said, if that sounds interesting, would be happy if you reach out to us. And as I said, hey, we are also looking for contributors, and there are also various ways how you can help. And we are just setting up these things at the moment. There are a few people who already reached out and said, hey, we want to help. So we haven't forgotten about you. We're just setting things up, and these are some things where we could need a lot of help. Actually, the community grew. We have meanwhile almost 2,000 people in the Slack space, so we could help with the community management. As I said, we want to set up these local chapters, which should be run autonomously, and so we are looking for chapter leads and support for the local chapters. And well, we have the resource and event collection, and we could need help on managing that, because new resources needs to be added all the time. And well, we are also looking for technical support. We are doing all the stuff on our own in terms of, for example, the website, but none of us is a front-end developers. So at some point we reach our limits, let's say it like this. So if that sounds interesting, we also would be happy to hear from you. And that's it so far from the network. And to jump into the panel discussion, I brought a very few thoughts as a starting point for the discussion. And I named the talk, the lightning talk, Designers and Trees. And because I saw a strong relation between trees and collaboration and cooperation, and I want to talk to you about that for 5 minutes. So as I said before, why do we think sustainability and cooperation strongly belong together? Well, because it's there in the Sustainable Development Goals, right? The 17th goal is about partnerships for the goals. And well, we do this already at the SUX Network. That is pretty nice. But what has this to do with trees? Well, I think if we look at a tree can be is a very beautiful thing, right? And here I have this picture of this nice tree standing alone on the in the fields. There is nice lighting. It's really beautiful, like maybe we are. We are beautiful people doing beautiful things as designers. But what happens if you bring trees together into a forest? Well, you could say in the first place, maybe not, the single one cannot shine as much as he or she could before. But there are a lot of advantages, actually. So, for example, what happens with a tree that stands alone in the fields, if a huge storm approaches, that's really dangerous for the tree because there is no protection from the storm, and the storm can break it down. In the forest, trees together are way more protected from the storm and can protect each other, actually. And what's also interesting, if you look down to the forest ground, actually, trees and all the things that live in the forest collaborate, right? Trees are connected to each other through their roots and through, what's the English words, fungal networks. So, right, there is some sort of communication. It's not fully sorted out how that exactly works, but I like the metaphor and I like the picture, right? They are working together. They are supporting each other. For example, there's this story if a tree that has only the stump of this tree left still somehow lives because from the other trees around it gets the stuff it needs to live, though it shouldn't live anymore without leaves and stuff. So these trees are supporting each other, and not only the trees, but everything that grows in the forest. And still, if you look from the top to this forest, you still can see the single trees, right? They leave each other space and they leave each other room, so they don't crash into each other, but they also leave some room so that sunlight can get down to the forest ground for new things to grow there. So that's what I see very cooperative, I would say, right? Because trees in the forest combine powers, and they also give each other enough room to coexist and to do their stuff. So they create power by working together and still give each other room to do things on their own and give room for new trees and other things to grow. And that's, as I said, that's a picture I really liked for this topic of collaboration and cooperation, and why I think we as designers can maybe learn from that and should see this as a role model. Because I think as individuals, well, at first we create beautiful products maybe, and we already have impact as individuals for sure. But I think as a collective, we create real impact, and we also create resistance against all the difficulties that we have to face. And that's the even more interesting thing. And we also create equality, I think, because in the forest, everything gets its room to live, no matter how big or how much of it is there. And so for this reason, I personally think, or we think, collaboration and cooperation are key to sustainability, and we should maybe take trees and forests as a role model for us and how we should work together. And with this, we want to come to the panel discussion today, and I'm really happy that we found a bunch of wonderful people from almost all around the world, actually, joining us here today. And so I welcome to the panel Helle from Copenhagen, Robert from the US, Laura from Portugal, and Akos from Hungary, and well, my friend Bavo from Belgium. Welcome to the panel, you all. Nice, so nice to be to have you here. Thank you very much that you joined. Hello, Bavo. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. It's stressy. I have 4 screens going, so running a live stream and being in one at the same time is definitely challenging, but that's what I'm here for.
And that's wonderful. Nice. Cool. Maybe to jump in, maybe each of you can give a really short introduction of yourself. As you can see, I'm still trying to keep my breath and to keep my air. And well, since Helle, you are the first here on my screen, maybe you can start and give a short introduction of of yourself and what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. I am freelance UX designer. I've had my own company for 10 years, and my biggest project is called UX Copenhagen, and it's an annual conference here in Copenhagen.
And it's a really wonderful conference.
Actually, where I met Torsten, right? Thank you.
Thank you. So next, since Akos, you are the next one here on my screen, maybe you can continue.
Absolutely, and thank you for the invitation, Torsten. As you can also hear, I have the same COVID as Torsten, so this is my voice is so horrible today. I'm a strategic designer. I'm from Budapest. I'm running a small boutique agency here. We are mostly working on basically impact-driven collaborations and cooperative strategies. And I'm also a university teacher at MOMA, which is the biggest design university in Hungary.
Thank you. Thank you for joining here today. Laura, maybe you can continue.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Torsten, for inviting me, and Bavo for facilitating this. And thank you, SUX Network, because you always bring such important topics into the space. So thank you. So I'm Laura. I'm based in Portugal, Croatian and Slovenian, and my background is in design anthropology. So it's not a normal sustainable UX designer, but I work with sustainability, design, and research for over 15 years, where I started as an anthropologist in quality research and then transitioned into design. So collaboration was always in my space from my first years out in the field, because as an anthropologist, there was no other way to go about it. I'm also a founder of Give a Shit. It's a regenerative innovation agency where we are focusing mainly on urban water management and sanitation. And we truly do give a shit a world impact, of positive impact. So I also am hosting Design by Nature monthly sessions with Ironhack, and I mentor individuals and startups on transitioning models towards sustainability and regeneration, and empowering others with what I can. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And Robert, last but definitely not least, can you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Good morning. Well, it's morning here in San Francisco, where it seems like the whole world has descended on us. I'm Robert Kozma. I was a professor at the University of Michigan, a research scientist at an R&D institute in Silicon Valley, and a international consultant on technology and education policy until I retired a few years ago. And then I decided to write this book. So Make the World a Better Place, design with passion, purpose, and values is what I've been concentrating on in the last few years. I appreciate being here and look forward to our discussion.
Thank you so much that you are here. And well, I can highly recommend the book. I have it here as well, actually, with a lot of Post-its and stuff.
Hey, he's actually read it.
And yeah, I can also recommend the podcast episode we have with you. And well, maybe I can ask the first question in your direction. And since the topic of these of the World Usability Day is collaboration and cooperation, I think a lot of people ask themselves, okay, yeah, well, collaboration, cooperation sounds similar. What's the difference, maybe? So how would you define collaboration and cooperation for yourself, and how would you do you differentiate it for yourself?
Are you asking me first?
Yes, sorry, I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Well, as you point out, they're very similar. The differences, I think, are a matter of emphasis, which often doesn't really matter, and words can be used interchangeably. But if we want to kind of use them in a special sense, I think that the differences are that, at least in my mind, is that cooperation is where two or more people get together to work towards their individual goals in a way that they work together advances the individual goals. And that has a kind of a free market connotation to it. I'm looking for things, you're selling things. You sell, I buy, we have cooperated. On the other hand, and that couldn't have happened without our kind of working together. On the other hand, collaborating is when two or more people work together on shared goals. So you and I have the same goals, the same values. We're working together. You maybe have different skills than I have. We're bringing those together to do something that we aren't able to do otherwise. So there's a kind of sense of collective action that I think goes beyond the kind of free market notion of I'm doing my thing for my self-interest, you're doing your thing for your self-interest, and we cooperate in a way that advances our individual interests. On the other hand, a word that I use, a term that I use in the book, is co-creation. And that's when two or more people are coming together and making things that benefit everyone and benefit both parties and advance shared goals. So it's just co-create. You could also say co-design. It's a matter of emphasis, and it makes a difference only if you are trying to emphasize one thing or another in a particular situation. At least that's my take on these.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, but 3 in collaboration. Maybe Laura, a follow-up question to you. Why do you think collaboration is so key for sustainability specifically?
Yeah, thank you. And a great point, because I believe there is no sustainability or regenerative future without collaboration in the first place. So I think it's not even a question in my point of view. But I believe I loved your introduction, Torsten, on trees and on the Hidden Life of Trees, the book, or the Fantastic Fungi documentary. I don't know if audience knows about it, but I highly recommend it, because I believe looking into nature, and I'm a bit obsessed with the nature. So answering to collaboration, I will go back to nature, because I believe we really need to learn with the nature principles. And looking into nature model and the design by nature, I call it, which is a so perfect harmonious design, which one species waste is other species resource, and there is no mistake. So they always collaborate. All this, the model, the ecosystem is in constant collaboration. And in saying this, it's if we are, it's not if we, but we are part of the nature. Even by etymology, human, it comes from the humus. So it means we are the nature. So we need to collaborate in accordance to survive, to thrive on this planet. So the factual, I would say that's very factual data, which brought us to the day today in our evolutionary process as a humanity. Looking into sustainability, because we need to fix things, if you excuse my expression, that we screw them up truly. That means we really need to step together, and we need to collaborate, and we need to not just give hand to each other and cooperate. And as Robert well defined it, like someone sells something, I buy. So it means we are already in cooperation. But on the other hand, we need to partner, we need to support each other, and we need to understand what is the role of each other on this journey, because we all have great intentions, but the things are still lagging far behind of the problems and challenges we are facing within this systemic complexity we are having. So the role of collaboration, I believe it's truly to go beyond disciplinary collaboration. In my point of view, it really goes to multidisciplinary collaboration to bring the successful long-term answers and solutions forward. And I believe that, yeah, we absolutely need to collaborate to manifest. If we want to have a future, we need to collaborate. There is no other way than collaboration, in my point of view. But I believe we are here for this, all of us.
For sure. You brought up a very good point, I think, with the interdisciplinary collaboration, right? So we cannot only look on us, the designers. Well, there is a lot of things we have to fix here, but we also have to see how we collaborate over the borders of our community. And maybe, Ákos, we had a lot of conversation in the past weeks, I would say. And well, you are also running a studio, working for commercial clients. And so I think on our path to a more sustainable and even further regenerative future, we also need to convince, well, the business people, right? So the people we very often see maybe as the main evil of these things, but well, we somehow have to work together with them. Do you have any advice how we can do this? How can we get into collaboration, or is it cooperation with the business world? How can we convince them to go with us on this path?
Yeah, because this is a tough one, because a lot of people look at all of these corporations as like something that has its own logic, something that is like operating on its own and it's evil on its own. But actually, any kind of corporation or enterprise is, in a sense, just a collection of people. Obviously, the outcome of the operation of that corporation has nothing to do with what these individuals are doing, what they believe in. But I think basically when we are trying to include or involve corporations into any kind of sustainability-related topic, I think there's two things we need to do. One is to operate on the individual level, because most of the individuals working at these corporations or enterprises are definitely not evil, and are definitely sharing the same values as we are when we are thinking about sustainability. And really, for the enterprise as a whole, I think there are two potential narratives. One is that basically, if we don't do something for sustainability, for saving the environment, or just sustaining the way humans and nature are operating right now, then they will have no business in a couple of years. Because if humans go extinct, then there is nobody to sell those sodas to. So that's obviously one of the narratives that can be used. And the other one is that regulation is anyway going to force them to be more sustainable. And if they are just waiting for the regulation and how they can respond to the regulations, then sustainability is always going to be them hemorrhaging money. But if they are going a little bit ahead of the curve and start thinking about sustainability and actual proper, interesting, good stuff that they can do in sustainability, then they can actually turn that into proper business at some point. So if we invest in time, and if we invest early enough, then we still have time to figure out how to package stuff in something else than plastic. If we are waiting for the regulation, we will not have enough time to figure out something that actually makes sense in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense indeed. Sorry, Thorsten. That was a very perspective from the business side of things. Like maybe we can split this into like maybe two topics. One is more business oriented, but the other one, and this is where I want to bring Helle in as well, as someone who organizes community meetups, but also an actual conference. Collaboration between designers, how do we best facilitate that? Are we doing well enough? Can we improve? Can we do better?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody should just come to the conference, right?
Yes.
No, but it's interesting because what Akash was saying is exactly the theme for next year's conference, and I'm calling it degrowth and consumerism, because my closing keynote for this year said, if we continue farming the way that we're traditional farming, we have 60 years left, and then we've used all of the Earth's resources. And I think that's really scary. I mean, that's not my lifetime, but it's my kids' lifetime for sure. And that just made me think, we have to talk about this. We have to stop, we have to change our ways of doing things. We can no longer just continue consuming and disposing, throwing things away, single-use products. We just can't continue doing this. But so the big main issue is, how do we convince management that, we have to stop overproducing, but you can still make money. You just have to target the products correctly. And if you get your right target group, and if you produce just enough, then there's no waste. And that's a big, huge saving as well. So, it's going to be a pretty big topic.
I think Robert wants to quickly.
Yeah, yes. I think we have to take a step back in this regard and kind of think of the broader context within which all of this is taking place, which is a kind of larger economic reality that all of this is taking place in. And the reality here in the US is probably a bit more extreme than it is in Europe, although we're all on the same playing field. Here in the US, it still goes back to what Milton Friedman, a Nobel laureate economist, referred to as the Friedman Doctrine, which is that the only responsibility that corporations have is to maximize profit for the shareholders. And as long as the economy is based on that principle, we are going to be working at the margins. And we really need to, there's only so, if that's the case, there's only so much accommodation that we can do as designers and have an impact. We, I think, need to think much more strategically about changing hearts and minds, if you will, and doing that in a local way with the companies and clients that we work with, companies we work for, the clients we work with, the communities we work in, and focus on human needs and on values like sustainability, where we're kind of getting beyond rather than playing in the economic kind of realities that we're stuck in for the time being.
Akash, you want to continue?
Yeah, because although I totally agree with you, Robert, actually I think that that a shift in business towards sustainability is more aligned with the Friedman Doctrine than it looks at first sight, because I truly actually believe, from the trends that are going on in the world and the business trends that are going on in the world, it's not just that if companies keep operating the way they are operating right now, it's not just an issue that we are going to be consuming all of the earth resources in 50, 60 years or something like that, but it also means that it will cause scarcity of all kinds of natural resources for the companies, which means that at some point it's not going to be profitable to operate in the current traditional way. It is only going to be sustainable from a business perspective to operate in a more efficient, more resource efficient and in any way sustainable way, because I don't think that we can be as optimistic as there is going to be a point in history when we can convince the world to shift to a more regenerative and less capitalist type of economy. But I do believe that if that doesn't change, and I feel that companies start to understand it, then capitalism is going to just collapse in itself.
Very good points. And I was going over to you, Laura, actually, and so we were discussing on a very global level now,
macro
right?
level,
and,
yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. And how can we? Well, the question I always or very often get is, what can I do as a single designer, right? So how can I change things? And I think one interesting word, I think Akos, you said it before, is how can we change narratives? So, for example, in terms of, and you said this in terms of corporates, well, we know what the right thing even for them is, but too much of them still did not get it right. They still only operate in their very short term cycles, right? And do not see the big picture. So how can we maybe design new narratives and convince more people, and what can we do as the single designers, as the small designers on that end? How do we have to collaborate? Laura, do you have an idea? And I'm asking you because you had this wonderful project where, well, I had the honor to be part of. You created this nice book as a collaboration of different designers from all over Europe, right? Who worked on this topic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we recently published Sustainable UX ebook. It's open source, so you can download it. I can put it also here. It was done in collaboration, but that's, I would say, that's just a small step, but something that it's absolutely a proof how we can contribute and showcase frameworks, tools that can be useful also within different kind of business models, and bring a new value system within the business, and further socially and environmentally impactful solutions and outreach. But where I want to really tackle on individual designer, and Thorsten, this is a great point, because normally, like all this situation we are living in, this complex society, it's truly overwhelming for most of us, and not just on as designers, but as humanity. And what's happening, I will start with Give a Shit. When I was starting with Give a Shit in 2009, I was maybe perceived too many times like, oh, this is brilliant, but you're a bit crazy trying to solve the world. And actually, it felt like that, to do the work alone. So the first thing is like what I learned through the long years. It's and you pointed out, it's changing the narrative. How do we speak to each other? How do we introduce sustainability as a topic? Do we always bring it as a shocking dilemma situation where we need to spend more, where we need to make larger financial investments within business, where clients need to compromise more, or we just bring the narrative and the storytelling and a non-human persona, nature persona on the boards, meetings, and so on, as something natural and as a must. It's the way I work with my clients. It's the way I show up in my mentorship things. It's the way I believe it's the only way further. So I believe before we lose this dilemma on is this the approach or what is the approach, it's truly bringing this forward in the narrative as something obvious, because as Akos, you point out very well, taxonomy, especially in Europe, it's here. Regulations are here. Reporting system, especially for larger corporates, are obligatory. So this is not anymore a question. And if I start with UX, 10 years ago, UX was still a fancy word. Today, it's a must. Almost every company has it. I hope so. It will have it. But I mean, like, it's something that it's really user experience is something that we all understand. It's needed. It's a must. But life centricity and bringing sustainability within the business model, yes, it's changing the narrative. On the other side, it's educating our clients. What is the value of their projects? on a long run. Because my questions from clients was always, yeah, but it's a larger investment and it's more, it's a lot of risk within this kind of space. But the truth is that once we change the narrative and once we showcase the value system that this is bringing overall to overall modeling what we are creating, everyone, like you mentioned, Akos, business is already being aware. I don't believe it's something lagging so much. I think we also as designers, as professionals, need to educate ourselves to be able to advise in the right way and to lead in the right way as a change-making community. Because I believe the future of designer, it's not just operational role and executing project. It's truly bringing the empowering leadership within the companies, different kind of stakeholders, and bringing further the change-making paradigm, which goes beyond the design thinking, which really looks into systemic thinking. And I like to call them acupuncture, the situations where can I activate the challenge correctly, that I can find the holistic solution for it. So I again spoke a bit macro, micro, mixed, because they are always mixed. But to say creating the right storytelling and narrative, bringing non-human persona into conversation as a must, not as something optional in any board meeting or design thinking, systems thinking session, and then stepping out as change-making community with all the references behind that we are already doing and other projects and companies out there they are doing. So I also like to always refer to examples that I know they exist, and I say, look, it's happening, it's your competitor, they are doing it, so why are you not smarter? You know that that's the game it's going to be. But I could continue a lot because, there is a lot to speak about it, but just to say, I believe I'm very positive about the future, and I do believe agree on regulation side with Akos. We should not wait for regulation for things to change. We need to do it as a community and as a society to step up on what we believe on, and that's.
I agree. And Akos, I'm going to let you talk in a second, but I do quickly want to add from my side is that I sometimes have to remind myself that every macro trend starts from micro interactions. There is no such thing as a starting point for a macro trend. It starts with just small, incremental, a meeting here, a message there. And that's the power that we do still have, not just as designers, but as human beings, is if you can't change a company, that's okay. But at least you can voice your opinion and plant a seed. And that seed might take 10, 15 designers cycling through before it blossoms into something. But as long as you contribute to that seed, you will be doing the most important work in this space altogether. Because sitting in silence in a meeting room and not being the one to say, like, that sounds weird from a sustainability perspective, that's all it takes. Just the raise of a hand isn't like, that sounds a bit weird from a sustainability perspective. And if enough people do that, we can adapt change. That's the power we have as a species. And with that, Akos, sorry, all yours.
Yeah, because for me, it's a really interesting topic that Thorsten, you brought up, that what can I do as just one designer? And honestly, it's always a little bit weird for me that there are, I don't know how many millions of designers in the world. So it's never actually just one designer that is shaping the world. Maybe you as one specific designer don't have the power to make absolutely huge fundamental changes in the world, but that's not even the point. The point is that all of those millions of designers together can make a difference. Basically, when I'm trying to teach designers anything about responsibility or sustainability or anything like that, there is usually two things that I'm trying to make designers understand. One is that responsibility as a designer is not a choice. You have a responsibility over what you are doing, whether you are okay to take that responsibility or not. You are responsible for all of the resources that you have used. It can be the time of people that are using your apps. It can be the electricity that you used. It can be the plastic that was used for creating your whatever type of product. And actually, you are making ethical decisions all the time, and moral decisions and responsibility decisions. You maybe don't realize them, and you are maybe making them implicitly, but you are making those decisions. So it's just a matter of getting to know yourself enough to understand your own decisions and control them more. And the other thing is that there's no such thing as just a designer. There is a designer, and designers are the architects of the world. And basically, whatever we create, it's not just another mobile application. It has its own. It's basically a stone that we drop in the water. It ripples on. It changes the culture that it fits into. It will change the way people perceive the world. It's like I quote this from Richard Buchanan a lot, that products are vivid arguments on how we should lead our lives. So basically, whatever you create, that's how people will understand the world. Whatever you create, people will believe that should exist. So it's like much more fundamental how designers are actually influencing the world. It's not just a product, it's everything that comes from a product.
I totally agree with you. You know that, right? And we agree on so many of these things. And I also believe so much that, well, every one of us can be of a change, right? Everything we do is better than nothing. Maybe sometimes rather the question is not, do I have impact, but how can we speed up things? So Helle, speaking of conferences, and you chose this very specific topic for your conference next year, which is wonderful. And the question could be, why don't have all UX and design conferences similar topics next year, because we are in such urgency, right? So is one conference enough? Don't we need more of them? How can we get there?
Well, it's really funny because I got some criticism last year from somebody who disliked the conference, and of course there are going to be people who disagree, which I think is wonderful. Something somebody else told me was that all designers are all green, they're all sustainable, they're all liberal, they all think the same, and that really provoked me, because I don't want it to be that way. I want us to disagree so that we can make change. But anyway, this person said, who talks about climate change at a UX conference? And I was like, there's the theme for next year. So, I think it's super important. And especially with that closing keynote who said, time is running out, we have to make change now. Then I just think, and that's the whole reason I started the conference, was because I've been working in UX for 25 years. I think I spent at least 10 years, trying to fight for the right, to show people that UX had value. And when I found out that wasn't working, I turned things around and I created a stage where I could shove other people up on stage to amplify my own voice. So, like you're saying, collaboration, I mean, my conference is nothing without my team of speakers and the people talking about the changes we need to make. So I don't know. I think my topics are usually pretty weird. I had commenting 2 years ago, and people are like, what does that even mean? But that's, again, speaking of collaboration and so on. So I think it's kind of provocative, I think. And I think it's really important for us to be talking about sustainability, climate change, and all these things together. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And well, Robert, you wanted to jump in here. So.
Yeah, I think it's very overwhelming when we think of ourselves as individual designers trying to change the world or the global economy or the climate, or and I think the way we need to change the narrative is to consider design as a local activity. If you're kind of buying into the industrial revolution model that of mass production and mass marketing, then we as individual designers, the impact that we have more often than not is really marginal. But if we think of design as a local activity, where even something global like climate change gets played out differently in different communities. In one community, it's a risk of wildfires. In another community, it's a risk of floods or hurricanes. And how is it that designers respond to those local situations that benefit people in a way that is most relevant to them? Then, as designers, we can see that we have a huge impact on this community. And it's kind of, as others of you have alluded to, it's when you start multiplying that local activity by hundreds and thousands of times that you change the world.
And I want to add maybe to what you all said. What I often see is, I think people like us, we are still in a bubble, right? There are still many more designers out there who have not thought about these things so much. They want to do good for the world, but that's at least something I experience very often, and I think we should not forget about this as well. And again, this is also a huge opportunity for impact for us, right? Because if I spread the word and talk to other people, designers, maybe not even designers, all kinds of people about this, there is still a huge opportunity of impact, from at least from what I experience. So it's still, we are still the minority of, well, and let's stick with designers who actively work on these things. There is still a majority who does not because they do not want to, but because many of them have not thought about it. Many of them say, well, I can not do anything, or how, what do you think? Open question to the panel. What do you think about that? Akash.
But Helle, you had something to say, I think. So I didn't want to cut in front of you.
Oh, thank you. No, I was just going to say that it's like Torsten said, I was going to say we all live in bubbles. So it's even more important that we bring other voices and other perspectives to the stage, or to, to the communities, so that we break out of our bubbles and don't get stuck in there. Thank you so much, Akash.
Thank you. So for me, sustainability, especially in UX, is a little bit similar to what was happening about accessibility in UX in the past couple of years. Like, I don't know, 10 years ago, most designers, more UXers didn't really even want to touch accessibility with a 10-foot pole, because everyone felt that it's like extremely expensive. It takes a lot of time. Anyway, nobody's gonna need it, and so on and so on and so on. And obviously, a lot of people started evangelizing accessibility, and that evangelization was not really about, yeah, it's more important than you think, obviously that too, but also to make people understand that it's not as hard as it looks. Basically, you just actually have to make your design proper, and then it's going to be accessible. And it's not going to look bad. It's not going to take a lot of your time. You just have to do your job properly. And I think it's the same with sustainable UX, that people still believe that if they are trying to design mobile applications, websites, whatever, in a sustainable way, then it will look really bad. It will take a lot of time for them to actually figure out how to design specific animations, specific layouts, anything like that actually have a major effect on the carbon footprint of, for example, front end of any kind of application. And I really think it's about just a perceived threshold. Designers just believe that the threshold for making sustainable designs is much higher than they expect.
Isn't this also, and you said it in your words
Yeah.
already. I think it's about creating new defaults, right? Maybe. And so how can we, as you said, for accessibility, it became more and more the default to make it accessible from the very beginning. And I think we still need to make the same happen for sustainability. And this is something, well, we have to make happen for us and for our colleagues and companions, but also for the younger generation we are teaching right now at universities or somewhere else. How can we teach them better to make this default in their design processes? Laura, maybe, I know Ironhack is a huge educational organization. What do you have an opinion?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm also a university professor. So what I will say, from my experience, the first word that it came to me meantime listening, all of us, it's from younger generation. I feel there is a lot of designers feel paralyzed. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So a lot of young designers, from my experience, also in my sessions, I feel that young designers feel paralyzed and overwhelmed because they feel they don't know enough of sustainability. And I think, Torsten, you made a good point, like making sustainable design like a default practice, but how to do it is the question. The first, I would say, thing is to demystify that sustainability is only about environment. It's truly about creating coherence and bringing together social, environmental, and economic sustainability for overall practice that we are creating. And then the second thing is, like, even if I see in young people, even if you are not enough knowledgeable in sustainability, and not just young people, even me, I feel like I'm in sustainability, or everything I do, it's with this intention for last 15 years. I always am learning something. So you always feel I don't know enough. The fact is, go with what you have, because the main thing what differs us from unsustainable practice and sustainability is we lost ethics and values upon what we need to act. And I think if you have ethics and if you understand that the value system is violated amongst the existing business model, amongst the projects they are being developed, there is a lot to be done already from your standpoint of view. So be courageous to speak about it and bring that forward to discussion. The second thing is, within the educational models, adopting the systems thinking beyond design thinking. I would say it's a game-changing tool for life centricity, because you start to right away understand the interconnectivity of the whole ecosystem. So you cannot not be taking care of the environment, because you understand. And Akuz, I love that you said something around, like, we're the architects of the future. And I can say we are the architects of behaviors and of the impact that people will have outside there. Because whatever I'm creating, it will impact how people will use the product, offer, service, system, whatever, but how they will also be thinking further, and how that will be impacting their emotional state, their well-being, and their further interaction with the people, but also the environment. So really taking in educational models this systemic point of view on that we are collaborating with the whole ecosystem of actors, like this actor network situation that Bruno Latour works a lot about it and writes beautifully on it. And so there is so much to do. Yes?
Oh yeah,
I
I was
if,
just I was just trying to make a bet that I will be the first one to bring up the tour, and you were faster than me. I couldn't agree more with everything that you said.
And I think this is one of the
brilliant.
key problems that we have with UX, right? User experience. We are building stuff for the users, and all of our tools and methods are focusing on the users, right? And only on the users. And they do not take even into account what's happening around the experience of the user. And so that's what I see as a key. Well, and that's also, I think, for us at the SUX Network, a key thing to broaden this view, right? What you also said with the systemic view, we need to bring in this systemic view. We need to create visibility for all the other actors that are part of these systems, and everything we build is always part of a bigger system, and all the methodologies we use so far do not take this into account, right? There is the user journey of the user. Maybe we have the service blueprint where we can see at least the touch points, but well, there it ends, right? So what would you say, how can we change this? Where should we start on a let's say on a very tool methodology level? And I'm looking to the panel, and well, Akash, I see you raising your hand.
As you have probably heard a couple of talks that I have given, basically the first thing that I'm trying to do is just break down this late stage understanding of design thinking, because I think this is what is killing design right now and eating up the creativity right now, that we have reduced design into all of those 6, 5, 8, whatever steps that are anyway in any single case are going to bring us to success, bring us to creativity. And basically what we need to do is like, instead of being design thinkers, actually go back to being designers and figuring out what we are actually doing, building proper concepts, using proper creativity. And honestly, for me, I even hate the word user experience, because user experience is not even human-centric. So obviously it cannot really be more than human-centric, because like, by considering people users, what we are doing is that we are actively saying that we are only understanding these people in the context of how they are using our product, but we are not even caring about the rest of their lives, their own personal human context, and even just the other products that they are using, or the time when they are not using any product at all. And basically, first we have to get to that level of actually understanding what we mean by human centricity. And after that, we can go a step further and actually understand how that human is fitting into any kind of ecosystem. And then we have to take another step further and understand all of the sense-making capabilities of all of the non-human actors in that ecosystem. And I don't want to go into my usual ramble about object-oriented ontology and all these kind of things, because I can talk about that for 2 hours. But basically, there's a ladder that people have to go through, I think.
And do we maybe also need to change terms? Robert, what would you say? I mean, we speak about human-centered design. There are people like, well, Don Norman and others have done this before, using the term humanity-centered design. We do that as well in our talks, right? And say humanity and environmental-centered design approach. I mean, technically, it's in the definition of human-centered design. It's already in there, but do we need to maybe use new terms to make it more obvious to the people? What would you say, Robert?
Well, in my book, I describe design as a moral dialogue among co-creators. So that certainly fits into the theme for our panel discussion here, at least around co-creation and collaboration. The term that I inject in that, which makes a lot of people nervous, particularly designers, I think, is the moral dialogue part of it. It's much easier for us to kind of tiptoe around ethical questions, much like Akash mentioned earlier, to just pull that out of the discussion, and as if it's not part of what it is that we're doing, even if we're not talking about it. So I think, whether you call it human-centered or humanity-centered or design thinking, if there isn't a values component to that, then invariably it's not sustainable, because sustainability is a fundamental value that we're introducing into the conversation. So I think we need to be clear in our own thinking and in the process that we engage in, and introduce values. And it makes it very much more complex and very tricky, obviously, because different people have different values. But again, if we don't anchor our designs in some sense of shared value that we play a large role in creating, of, kind of getting to the fundamental values that are important to all of us, and that we base our designs on these shared values that we drill down into, then our designs are really working at the margins.
Thank you. And
Laura,
Laura,
saw
you
that you wanna, yeah.
Yeah, just want to add a word on this, that I feel that demystifying like concepts and naming, because wording is important, of course. User experience is still very absolutely market driven, like by definition. The truth is we are here to talk different things, and the truth is that SUX Network is doing brilliant work to I would say, abolish this kind of perception on UX as a capitalistic model in society. But sustainable future, in my point of view, only exists, sustainable design only exists with the life-centric approach. Human-centered design, we came from object-centered design and Bauhaus. We transition into human centricity. We're speaking of human centricity, user, whatever you choose it, you name it. But the thing is, there is no future without taking in account the whole life. So truly, we need to go beyond the linear way of thinking between problem and solution, but really map out who are the real stakeholders. And nature is not just one of the stakeholders; it's the main stakeholder that we are at service to, because we are the nature. So life centricity and sustainable design, I guess it's like kind of the linear, if we need to reframe something in phrasing, that should come along together in collaborative practice and beyond.
I couldn't agree more. Maybe because we're moving towards the end of our panel discussion. So I do want to throw a last one out there, because I feel like this is a sensitive subject for many, not for me, but for many. When it comes to collaborating, whether that is with other designers, whether that is with companies, whether that is with anyone, should there be no-goes? I think I personally have a very long, I will not work for, with, or in any way, shape related to your company. I have that list and I am very vigilant of it. But maybe someone else has a different opinion. Anyone who wants to share on this? Helle, maybe? Did I see you raise your hand?
Well, I'll jump in on this.
No, but I'll comment.
Go ahead.
I had this discussion with Rolf Mohlich, actually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead, Helle.
You go, please.
I think you're muted, at least for me.
Yes. Well, it's fine. Robert, do you wanna go ahead?
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I also have a long list of.
So I think there's a little bit of a delay in a connection between when we speak and when Helle hears us. So Helle, do you want to finish your point?
Okay, I saw a thumb up.
Okay.
So then maybe Robert, you continue.
Sure. Well, the go no go lines that I think of are values based rather than organization or person based. So one of the 7 principles for design that I mention in the book is, first, do no harm. So if a design results, if the impact of the design is harmful in some way, that is something that I'm very concerned about. For example, in the application of artificial intelligence, I'm really quite passionate about, wait a minute, we need to really pull back and think deeply about what the possible harm is that can happen when we use this technology. But in terms of the players, whether it's a corporation or an individual, if they share that value, even though we may have differences in other ways, I think it's important to try and create designs that address that shared value, that it comes from people who have different perspectives. And Helle referred to this earlier. I think it makes the design more robust, that it addresses a range of needs and a range of perspectives, and it can make it the design much more powerful, particularly if it's based on this shared value of do no harm or advance knowledge or promote equality, create communities. So those, in my book, are important values that I focus on.
Akash or Laura, do you want to add something?
I would, because I do have no-goes. Like I don't believe in things like effective altruism and this kind of thing. So I'm not the kind of person who believes that, I don't know, if we make money with something that has something to do with an unsustainable business model and we spend it on something in social enterprises that is actually effective, I don't believe that. I'm usually trying to separate all of the companies that I can potentially work with into 3 categories: positive actors, transitioning actors, and beyond saving. And I would never work with the ones that can be considered beyond saving. And for me, for example, a transitioning company can totally be an oil company, for example. So I would not say that I would never work with an oil company, because based on the business model that they are running, based on the infrastructure that they are running on, an oil company can be transformed into a lot of different kind of things with the same infrastructure. They can become a mobility provider. They can become, I don't know, a lot of different things without ever touching oil in their lives. But for example, I'm not going to say the name of that soda company, is beyond saving, because their entire basic fundamental business model is built on something that has no place in society, has no place in the life of humans, and has no place in the environment. So their only sustainable step would be to close all their factories.
I agree. I too look at it. I'm in the exact same boat as you. Like, if BP calls me tomorrow and say we want to eliminate all oil from our processes, can you help us transform? Hey, I will do that project gladly, and I will work on that so incredibly hard. But there are companies out there that, for me, have just crossed ethical lines that I cannot. I'm debating on whether we should or shouldn't name. Probably it's best not to name these companies, but I think we all know who we're talking about. Poisoning wells and stuff, groundwater supplies. And I mean, those companies I will just not work for. Okay, maybe one final, because it's someone mentioned something in the chat.
I think Laura wanted to add.
Oh, sorry.
wanted to add something.
And I see
And
Helle
maybe
raising
Helle,
it.
I don't know
Yeah.
if her microphone is working. Maybe Helle wants to jump in.
Yes, let's try Helle.
Try one more time. But it's just so difficult because, you know, is it seven global companies that pretty much own everything? So how do we avoid working for these companies?
Very good point and very good question. And
Yeah, maybe yeah, go.
Yeah, no, jump in, and then I add afterwards.
Yeah, just also to give clues on my side. I was very radical. It's why I founded Give a Shit for many years, and I was like, I give a shit, and I don't do this and this and this. The thing is, through my career and through my work, what I learned, there are total no-goes, and that's, I think it was mentioned here, and I won't name companies, but yeah, there are ethical level of my story that I simply cannot do certain things from personal reasons, and then there are also professional reasons. But beyond that, I would say that I did mentor and learn with young people, and also people who were transitioning from career, who were senior designers, and they wanted career in sustainability. And they did choose, maybe from my point of view, not something that I would expect as a sustainable UX designer would do. I don't mean a profile of person, I mean within the work scope. But what I want to say, that if that company, as you said, Akus, if that company is transitioning to something that it's contributing to a better future out there, someone needs to help them, be it designer or be it someone else. So I hope the person who is helping them really has a clue what is the best future for that kind of companies. Or as we said, one thing is shutting them down. The other thing is maybe they can really transition and do something better for the world with our help. It's not me who is going to help them, but to say that I don't blame anyone who is choosing that career path, and probably there is a way also to go in that space.
And I think that's a very important point you made there in the end, right? So every one of us, everyone out there has his or her own boundaries, right? And we all need to define these on our own. How far? Because as you all said, we need to go into this hard situations, into this where we can really change things, right? So there are many companies that are transitioning. You said that, Akash, and someone needs to go there and change them. And maybe I feel okay with going there, and you won't feel okay with going there. And this is sometimes a hard decision, but it's okay, right? It's not about blaming anybody. Going somewhere and doing his or her own best. And since we were talking about these huge corporates, I think the second thing is, so where can we go and change maybe things from the inside, but also where do we have to identify narratives that we need to change from the outside, especially when we are talking about oil companies, because I read this example just some days ago. I think it's from Shell, who invested a lot of money. Sorry, now I named them. Who invest a lot of money in influencers, so to promote their we are doing all the good stuff thing, which more feels like they're investing more money into this marketing stuff than into the real transition, right? And so this is always also something where we can still work on changing or trying to force change when we identify these narratives and work on these. So I just wanted to add that to the end. And maybe, well, we are at the end already, but maybe one sentence for each of you for the very last short question, directly related to the topic, collaboration and cooperation. What would you say to a designer out there asking you, how can I start collaborating tomorrow? Who wants to start?
I'll go first by repeating myself in what I said earlier, which is macro trends start from micro interactions. Realize the impact you can have by just raising your hand at the right time and saying, that feels weird.
I'll double that one and repeat that all design is local. And if you focus on the problems in a particular community with a particular group, then collaboration will roll out naturally because you're connecting with real needs and real people.
Who want to go next?
I can go. So if there would be just one sentence that I would need to say to designers about this is just raise your freaking phone. Because I believe a lot of designers really just believe that it's hard to collaborate with others. Oh, they would not want to be a part of it. How are we going to figure out who's the owner of the idea? Whatever. People just want to collaborate by default. Whoever you call, the most probable answer is, sure, whatever, why not? I have a couple of hours for that. You will figure it out later. Just do it.
I can jump here and just do it. It's the great call for action. Absolute yes. I can just say as a final words, do what really drives you and motivates you. And clients will be there for you, and you will be paid for what you love to do. Because when I started to work on toilets, people thought I'm just a young crazy girl. Today, it's something that even if I'm always learning, it's something I know everyone needs and wants to change eventually, and water topic too. And I never knew that will take me to here. So just go with your niche, with your gut feeling, and just do the work and just do it.
Helle, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just a few last words is that, you know, as sole, what do we call them? Satellite UXers, the ones that are kind of alone in the world working for ourselves. It feels overwhelming, and we can't all be Greta Thunberg, but she was a 16-year-old kid who has, you know, gained so much momentum from, you know, speaking out and asking for help. And so we might not all be able to create conferences or huge foundations like SUX or SUX, but, you know, we can all join a local meetup, and we can all invite speakers from around the world to join that meetup just like this. So, you know, just keep doing this, and everybody can join, everybody can create.
So well said and perfect words. And I agree so much on what you all said, right? And I think this is really important. And if we look at the SUX network, for example, it also started as a very small thing with just a few people meeting, realizing, oh yeah, we are thinking about similar things and we should do something there. And what could we do? And the idea changed again and again, and we just went with the flow and see where we are now. So yes, it's everything that we do can be the small first stone that we drop, and then makes the whole mountain going down, right? So yes, everyone can be a change, and collaboration starts with just talking to the designer you meet at work or at the next meetup or wherever, right? And this is the thing we all can start doing tomorrow. I so much highly agree on that. Thank you so much for joining here today. We are almost on time. Well, but we made it on time. That's great. Thank you all so much for being here. Helle, Akos, Robert, and Laura. It was so really inspiring, also for me. I can tell to have this conversation together with you. Bavo, thank you so much for being here together with me.
No, always a pleasure. It was truly inspiring. Great voices, great people. And to further Akash's point, the only reason this event happened is because we called and asked, do you have an hour of your time willing to give to us? And here we are collaborating. So with that, I want to thank our panel. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you all at the next SUX event.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.